Over the past week or so, there have been more and more reports that Wesley Snipes could be replacing Mahershala Ali as Blade in the MCU. And I, for one, think that that's not necessarily the best of ideas for a already struggling project. Salutations and fist bumps, folks. Welcome back to the grid. So you may have heard that Blade has had a lot of its ups and downs and some troubles over the past couple of years and months. But the latest thing that has come up is a completely new plot twist. Let's ride. So let's talk about these 3 reasons why this is not necessarily the best idea. For starters, the project, like I said, has already had its troubles going up and down from the start in 2019. And since it got greenlit and actually was announced at Comic-Con in 2019, it has seen a departure of 2 directors, the first coming from Bassem Tariq and the most recent in director Yan Dimanche's exit. Both were practically amicable, the first being because of a scheduling conflict, and the last is said to have been just peaceably and very amicable as well. However, that still leaves this entire project without a director for the foreseeable future going forward, not to mention that this was supposed to have been in our hands last year in November. And it has gotten so bad that actually Wesley Snipes did make a joke about the entire project when he took to X, formerly known as Twitter, saying, "Blade, lordy, 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 folks still looking for the secret sauce, riding snowmobiles in traffic. Daywalkers make it look easy, don't they?" And though he said this back in June of 2024, this now going forward adds more fire or fuel to the fire for this particular subject. So it's not wrong that we are now talking about it because of everything that he has cooked up himself in regards to this actual project. And not to mention that this project also suffered from the writer's strike in 2023 as well. Well, the writers and actors strike that halted literally the entirety of this project and everything else around the entirety of the film industry as well. But the script is still being written and is still helmed by Eric Pearson, who has actually written for Black Widow, Thor Ragnarok, and Agent Carter. But if the switch is made from Mahershala Ali to Wesley Snipes, Eric Pearson would be the only person on this staff that was originally brought on in 2019, which could then mean that everything around the feel and heart of this movie could completely change from what we knew before to what we actually get, and that may or may not be a good thing. To continue on, in the last time that we've seen Wesley Snipes as Blade in the actual prime of his career, or maybe the prime of his career at this point, not sure if that actually was or not, but the last time that we saw him,
forgot my sword.
On the back end or behind the scenes, it was very tumultuous, to say the least. Now, we can probably all agree that Blade trilogy was probably the worst of the 3 of the Blade movies from the late 90s and the early 2000s. Also said to be very bad in parallel to this actual movie were the tantrums that Wesley Snipes was actually having on set when then writer David S. Goyer became the director, and Wesley was not very fond of that choice, and he made his voice very, very known about it, which is possibly another reason for the joke in Deadpool and Wolverine, where Blade actually talks to Deadpool and says that he never liked him. But on the set of Blade Trinity, Wesley was so defiant at times that he was instructed to do a particular scene where he opens his eyes as Blade coming back to life, basically, and he didn't do it, to the point that they had to CGI everything in post just so it actually made sense. But he seems to have possibly redeemed himself on the set of Deadpool and Wolverine. But do we really need any more debacles or setbacks for this project? Like I mentioned earlier in the video, we've already had a whole lot of them.
You ain't just whistling Dixie!
Because again, I say that we were supposed to have this movie in our hands last November, and it is now the ending of August going into September of 2024 as I make this video. Mind you, again, this was announced in 2019. But in my humble opinion, I just also believe that it's time for a fresh face, and Mahershala Ali is the perfect choice, in my opinion, to do that. Now, no disrespect to Wesley Snipes though, but the man is 60 years old, and if we're trying to build on the legacy of Blade and into the future for the MCU, it's going to take about 5 to 10 years for that to happen. 5 to 10 years is a long time to actually play a action hero for the long haul in multiple different movies, your own plus cameo. Let's really think about this for a second. Obviously, technically, this story will probably be an origin story for the MCU's version of telling this story going forward, so that we set a precedent so that we can actually use it later on in things like Secret Wars. Or maybe they actually do Secret Wars afterwards, or maybe we even possibly at this point, the way that things are going, maybe even we get Secret Wars and then Blade. But at the end of the day, we're probably going to get an origin story nonetheless. And if you're going to tell an origin story, it's kind of hard, unless you're telling the origin story of Old Man Logan, but it's kind of hard to have gray hair inside of the character unless you're basically, like they did in Deadpool and Wolverine, saying that he's an older version of the character who is a part of a decaying universe. But I also do believe that this character and story will need an actor that can liven the heart of the actual character, because think about it, Blade is going to be going up against a lot of his own kind, and that could take a toll on a person. Not to mention that he's also going to be doing this trying to save humanity at the same time. So there's a lot of ebbs and flows that could happen here, and you need someone that can actually tap into that character and develop it well. So again, in my opinion, I would say that Mahershala Ali is probably one of the best choices to actually get that done. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Leave your predictions or thoughts down in the comment. Now, there's obviously a lot that still has to be put in place and that could still go on here, but what are your thoughts about Wesley actually taking the helm and replacing Mahershala Ali as Blade? Are you on board with it? Are you completely indifferent? Do you not like this at all? Are you kind of indifferent or on the fence about the whole thing and just kind of want to see how it plays out? And if you need a trip down memory lane in terms of the X-Men, go ahead and hit this playlist over here. And if you want to stay up to date on everything that is going on inside of the MCU currently, go ahead and hit this playlist over here or check the link down in the description. And until next time, y'all be smooth, blurred out.